Welcome to Heart of Scrolls for Friday, February 21st. There's been some new announcements on the scrolls.com website that we can discuss, and today we have a collection of new and old guests for you guys. First off, we have Dialex, who is a player who has been active in the community and a successful competitor for a long time. Welcome to the show.
I think that's where you say, it's good to be here.
Is he even here?
Is that?
Is he here?
He's gone.
All right. Well,
Totally AFK, all right.
yes,
it's very nice to be here, thank you.
We also have a new addition to the Badger Guild, Clever Us.
Hi.
A frequent Scrolls streamer and up-and-coming player. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Looking great in my little photo on the stream there. Got
Excellent.
like mid chuckle. Is that what's happening there?
Something like that. And of course we have the man who needs no introduction, Blinky. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
All right.
Dialex is frozen, apparently.
Oh, good.
I assume that means something's wrong with Skype, not that he's been turned into ice.
All right. Well, let us know when you're back online, please. So, with the announcement of the upcoming release of Rebellion on next Tuesday, I believe, we got a collection of new information. Much of the announcement talked about things that we already know, of course, and have been discussing for the past 2 weeks on the podcast. But some newer information is a upcoming general and new to the scroll store, and new ways of acquiring those new scrolls. So on the topic of new ways to acquire scrolls, we have new precons, something that they're calling Explorer Packs, adjustments to tiered scrolls and their value. Much as in the Week of Decay, the Just For You section will be updated with cards from the latest set for a week, and I think that's about all. So to you first, Blinky. What do you think of these adjustments? Will it help people get the new scrolls, or and maybe you have something to tell us about the precons?
The precons? Oh, they're very sexy, those precons. I think whoever came up with them is just plain. Yeah, the Explorer packs are going to be good. You get a minimum of 4 Rebellion scrolls per pack, I believe, so easy to get them there. The precons have got 10 out of 15 new scrolls in them, so that'll get you off to a good start when collecting the new scrolls. Yeah, it's going to be it's been made a bit easier to collect them than life has been in previous sets. But it's good.
Yeah, it's great. What kind of players do you think the new precons will appeal to? Do you think these are something that everyone should want to play, or not? Not quite everybody.
It's aimed at some, well, not beginner players, but people who have played the game slightly a bit and looking to expand their collection. It'll be fine for beginner players. But yeah, that's it. I don't really know, because I've tested them against myself, a lot, and they were fine. But it's difficult for me to say how easy they'll be for a newer player. I tried to make it as easy as it could, but balance was the most important thing, really, and sticking to the plan.
And obviously, a big part of this this discussion is also how do you guys intend to fill out your collection with these new scrolls? So first off, Clever, what are your plans when Rebellion hits? How do you plan on filling up your collection?
Well, I actually don't know whether this is optimal at all, but I'm planning to just blow all of my money on those Explorers packs and then save like 3K and just play Judgment over and over for a while. Because I
How
haven't
much
had
money have you got?
I have 30,000. So not.
I laughed at your face.
It's not a huge amount, and that's why I don't think I can get there just by buying packs. But
We can help you though.
But I don't know. I don't think that even if I could get all of the cards in hand at once, I would necessarily want to go straight into ranked with that because I haven't had a chance to play in the test server, and so I kind of want to get a feel for the cards. Maybe in Judgment, I think that might be a good way to get a handle on that. So that's my plan: is start picking them up one by one in Judgment. Just play that for a while.
Good luck with
Right on. That's very similar to my plan as well. I'm gonna dump all my money into Explorers packs and then fill in the gaps with Judgment, perhaps. Is Dialex with us yet?
Yeah,
he's
I'm here.
messed up. Oh, he's here! He's here! Yay!
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
Excellent. Everyone, welcome Dialex.
ask him questions.
Yeah. Same question to you. How do you plan on filling in your collection of scrolls when Rebellion hits the live servers?
I will probably buy all the precons and probably play a lot of Judgment. That's my plan. Maybe get some through the trading channel, and yeah, fill up my collection that way. The precons are pretty good, so I get a lot of the main core scrolls from them.
Right on. Yeah.
I'm going to go mad and buy a precon in each of my accounts.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Just because I'm going for tier 3 scrolls of everything, and that would help. So that's what we're doing.
That's a good segue into another topic that they announced, which is new rewards for using tier 3 scrolls. So previously, getting to tier 2 was kind of exciting because you would get your stats recorded on each scroll, but tier 3 just sort of gave you this rainbow effect. But there's a new bonus coming to those. Would you like to tell us about that, Blinky?
Sure. At the moment, tier 3 scrolls, they're only shiny, and that's boring. So now they give you gold bonuses. Can't exactly remember how it goes. I think is it 2.5% for a common, 5% for an uncommon, 10% for a rare. It's somewhere around there. And it's capped
when you
at
draw
50%.
them,
Yeah. And it's capped at 50%. Now people have been saying, "Oh, that's going to make the rich richer." It will after about 2,000 games or so, because it is so expensive to make a tier 3 scroll that the bonus will take ages to recoup you. It would just take a long time to recoup the gold you spent to try and get tier 3 scrolls. So. But it's good because it was something I suggested to Bombing Boy, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do." And I wanted more gold. No, that's not true.
I think it's a great change. Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have a bonus of any kind, honestly, on the tier 3s because they did not really have a lot to make them worth going after. But this definitely gets closer to that.
I mean, to get one tier 3, you need, is it 9 scrolls you need?
Yes.
To get one tier 3, to have a set, you need 27 scrolls. And that's a lot of gold. I mean, if it's 1,000 for rare, it's 27,000, for instance. And you'll be getting 30% extra gold for each game, and say 300 gold for a game, so 30%, that's 100 gold. So you would need to play 270 games with that in and win, get your gold back.
Well, I think it's also keep in mind that you actually have to draw those scrolls into your hand as well. You won't actually, if you had a play set of one rare, you wouldn't get that 30% bonus every game. You would usually get maybe 10 or 20.
So do you have to play them, or do you just have to draw them?
I From what I've read, you just have to draw them into your hand. But
All right.
but I have been wrong before.
Yes, you have. But also the good thing is you can now get them in packs as well, and single scrolls. I know I don't know if percentages of that have been released, but I can tell you that it's fine. I don't know.
When I was testing that a bit.
What figure did you arrive at?
It was like somewhere between like every 5 and 10 packs. I got like, I didn't have a ton of data, but I just used all of the gold that I had on the test server, and they came up now and then, but most packs did not have an extra scroll. Keep in mind with that new bonus, that's an 11th scroll for the pack that's sometimes added. Could be anything.
Yeah, I don't know if Mons wants percentages released, so I'm not going to say what they are, but you're close. So,
well, I put a pretty big range on it. So
it is between 5 and 10 for a pack, and for singles, it's a lot different, obviously.
Okay.
But if you get it in a pack, it's an extra card. So you get 10 cards, then an extra one as well. So it's quite cool.
All right.
Bring on the tier 3 cards.
So a thought on tier 3 scrolls giving gold rewards. I don't think there's many people who would be complaining about this, but I found it was a bit of an odd choice for what bonus to give to a tier 3 scroll, since the players who have tier 3 scrolls don't really need more gold that much, and players who do need more gold can't get tier 3 scrolls very easily. So it seemed like an odd choice.
Well, they can now through getting it through packs. And the only other option for tier 3 that we could come up with is like aesthetic sort of stuff. That takes a lot more time and effort and other things. So I think the gold bonus is just nice and easy sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, I don't think you get any extra gold for selling them to the store.
Okay.
So this kind of increases their worth up to actual, because tier 3 scrolls were hardly worth anything really. So with a little extra bonus, maybe they will now. So
yeah, I agree. I don't think it's like necessarily the number one most optimal thing that the bonus could be, but I think that it is a lot better than the current state, which is nothing. So.
All right. So the next major topic is the judgment overhaul. So a quick rundown of this is now when you are drafting and you're presented with a row of 4 scrolls, those will all be of the same rarity. I can say from experience trying to do a couple drafts on the test server, it makes your decisions a lot more difficult when you get that row of rares. You have to choose between all of these amazing things. A run now finishes when you either have 5 wins or have taken 2 losses. So this is
6
similar.
wins now.
Is it 6 wins now? Okay.
Yeah, they changed it.
So it's 6 wins or 2 losses. This is very similar to the arena system in Hearthstone, for those who are familiar with that. The entry fee will be lowered slightly to compensate, since you can be kicked out early now. And the gold rewards have been changed. So if it has been upgraded to 6 wins, my numbers might be a little bit wrong. But here I have that if you win 5 games, you'll now win 1,600 gold instead of 2,000. So that's down a little bit. And if you win none of your games, you will only receive 100 gold, where it used to be 150, but your investment was lower. So those sound bad. But if you win 2 of your games, you'll now get 400 gold, where you would previously have received 250. And for 3 wins, you're up to 800 gold, where it used to be 500. So throw this to Dialex first. What do you think? What do you think the biggest effects to Judgment from these changes will be in terms of how people play it, what people play it, how popular it will be?
Well, just lowering the entry fee just, I don't know, makes it more appealing to everyone, I guess. So hopefully it'll increase the number of people playing Judgment. Also, like kind of the guaranteed rare and things like that. I don't know. I don't play a whole lot of Judgment. It's probably the least played mode I play. I think the other guys play a little bit more. But yeah. I think the changes are good. I mean, I like that you get more games, but also there's a lower entry fee. And hopefully you'll be able to get your scrolls that way through this Judgment mode. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think it's a bunch of really good changes. I think there's going to be a lot less variance. Maybe not like a huge amount less variance. There's always going to be variance in like whether you get a good deck or a bad deck in Judgment, but at least dividing it up this way means you can kind of rely on getting some of the core cards that sometimes you just never even see. I don't know. I also think that lowering the price is great because that 1,000 gold mark can be kind of intimidating if you only have like 3,000 or whatever and you're not really expecting to do very well. Like in the current system, it's pretty easy to go 2 and 3 and walk away with less than what you paid to get in, which feels like kind of a waste of time. I think a lot of people are very conscious of the opportunity costs of playing Judgment and the fact that you can make a lot more gold in the current system playing other modes unless you're going like 4-1, 5-0 is a big discouraging factor. And I think encouraging more people to play Judgment is one of the big factors in making it a successful mode in the future, because that'll speed up queue times and make it so that you can have more even matches, stuff like that.
I think Judgment also is really appealing for the newer player base. So it's a good thing to kind of make accessible for newer players by lowering the cost. It puts everyone on even ground according to cards. So, you feel at an even ground to any other Judgment player because you've gone through the same process.
Yeah, right on. I think a significant element of this change is also that they have a single run. Like a single run will often take a shorter amount of time than it does now, since 2 losses and it's over. But it will also, cost you less. So each individual run should become less impactful, which means you can spend less time in a run and then get back in there and draft another deck, and that sort of evens your variance out a little bit, since instead of doing 1 big run, you do 2 little runs with. So the amount of variance between 2 decks should be lower, I would imagine. Do you have any thoughts on that, Blinky?
With Judgment, I've been calling some of these changes for a long time, mainly for keeping them of the same rarity on the same row to make it a bit fairer. But yeah, I don't really play too much Judgment, but when I do, I enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to testing out these changes, especially with the new scrolls coming in. That's all I have to say on it, really.
Right on. Yeah, I think certain archetypes will emerge with the addition of the new scrolls that you can't really do reliably now. Like, obviously, ranged energy comes to mind. A lot of times when you're drafting energy in Judgment at the moment, it feels like it's a real struggle to get a proper set of creatures to keep you alive. But hopefully that will change with some of the new additions. So a third set of changes are mostly cosmetic. So we have the Ironclad Reaver. If that could be put up on screen, that would be great. This was previously called the Shadow Hands and had placeholder art and name, but it's now called the Ironclad Reaver. This is the 4/5 for 5 energy that becomes immune to damage after pillage, after striking an idol. So that's updated now. There have been a couple name changes. The Tempest Runner is now the Tempest Reaver, and the Wings Rammer is now the Wings Charger. The most exciting to me is the new backgrounds in the individual games that you're playing. There are some new trials. There are a few new options. You can disable the visuals for upgraded scrolls. Apparently there were some people requesting this. I don't imagine getting much use out of it myself, but there's that. Some new search filters in the deck builder. The attack animation previewer. And also interestingly, when you trade away a tier 2 or tier 3 scroll to another player, their stats are reset now, including the date that it was crafted.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. I didn't realize that counted as one of the stats.
So throwing that to Clever first, which of these, why do you, if there's any changes from that stand out to you in terms of why you think they were made or any impact you think they would have, go nuts.
I think it would be kind of cool if they actually kept the original date it was made on that. I mean, I like that they're clearing the stats when you trade the card, because obviously it's kind of annoying if you're boasting somebody else's like 15% win rate on a card that you've traded for. But it might also, I don't know, I'm thinking about Pokemon randomly enough, and in Pokemon when you trade for another person's Pokemon, it records the name of the original owner. So what if you could what if it had that information, like crafted on X date by X player? That might be a fun little thing that, I don't know, maybe that's hard to implement, but regardless.
Sounds like a good change to me.
It's that might be kind of, and then you'd have like the cards that were traded away from the top players, like maybe they would develop some kind of market for that. I don't know, probably not.
Yeah, I think you should keep the stats of the previous player, so you have like something to aim to beat, you know. So say they have like 15% win rate with something, and then you're like, oh yeah, maybe I can beat that, which would be pretty easy. But I know it'd be cool to aim to beat the previous player in some way, and then whoever last traded it, or something like that.
Well, the idea before when keeping the stats was, like, say you trade for a Brave that's like killed like 400 units in like 10 games or something. You think, oh, I can have that Brave, it's awesome. You think it's a super powerful version. That's the sort of idea. It's like got a bit of like flavour and history to it, but I think that's kind of secondary to getting your own stats together and working things out from there.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see the date and, like Clever mentioned, the original crafter recorded and saved on a scroll after it's been traded. Even if it resets all of the other in-game stats, I would like to see those stay, so that maybe there can develop a market for, say, like 7-8-month-old scrolls, or scrolls that Blinky crafted, or whatever else. I think that would be cool, while still retaining the functionality that people are looking for in being able to reset their stats, or not have.
If you could rename scrolls as well.
I completely support that idea. That is an amazing idea. I really want to rename all my Braves, like, I don't know, like Harold, Chuck the Brave.
Obviously, your opponent will be able to see the new names because that would be confusing for a newer player.
Maybe if they were in quotation marks or something, or in a smaller font.
Maybe, but it would be a bit weird.
They'd also they'd probably have to figure out some kind of profanity filter at that point, because you want to have like Dick Butts the whatever floating around. Dick Butts the Wings Rammer or Charger.
Maybe that's why they changed Wings Rammer to Wings Charger. Does anyone have an idea of why they changed those names? Why they changed to Tempest Reaver instead of Tempest Runner, for instance?
No, because it's weird. Actually, no, it's not. Tempest Reaver's weird. I don't know. What have I done?
Isn't Reaver a subtype?
I think so.
Reaver is a subtype. It also gained that subtype, I believe.
Yeah, type Runner doesn't really work.
I guess they wanted some more Reavers to go with the top Reaver, Thea, right? I don't know. If she's like the only Reaver.
How many Reavers are there?
There's 4.
There's 4.
Boom Reaver, Tempest Reaver, Ironclad Reaver, and
Oh,
Top
Ironclad.
Reaver Thea.
Does that mean there are as many Reavers as there are Gravelocks?
No, because there's. Well, actually, yes, because there's
Yes.
4 Gravelocks. But there's thingy. So
Where-
4.5.
Weren't we talking about this, about how we wanted more Gravelocks?
Yeah, and wolves.
Like
Well, actually, not wolves. That would be horrible. All Gravelocks would be cool, but they've gone with automatons instead, which is fine. We'll just push the Gravelocks next set. I mean, it only take
I
like
think-
number 3, won't it?
I think nice. What would help Gravelock decks and Gravelock synergy would be if there were more units that benefited other Gravelocks than just the Elder. Because right now, playing all of your other Gravelocks doesn't really feel like you're playing a Gravelock deck until you get that Elder on the field. But
Yeah. Raider's a bit weak as well, but Outcast is.
yeah, Outcast.
It used to be one of the top decks back in the Alpha.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it used to have, because the deck size were 40, and you could fit all 9 Gravelocks in with Eye of Eagle and Dryadic Power. So Outcast could be healed, and it was insane. I think,
Okay.
but not.
I imagine the reason to change Tempest Runner to Tempest Reaver is just because they are, for lore reasons, they're introducing this faction called the Reavers that are working with the other forces of energy, and they want them to be more well represented in the Rebellion set.
Yeah,
But that's speculation. Filters, not too important, is the attack animation preview, which I think NRP's been demonstrating on stream.
That's quite cool. Come on, bring his charge.
All right.
Must be a hilarious animation where if you just keep clicking on it, it will do something funny.
So,
Yeah, it looks funny.
if not all of the new changes. So what decks do you guys plan on running when Rebellion hits the live servers? What's the first thing that you plan to put together and hit the ladder with? So, Blinky, you first. What's your thoughts?
Oh, well, it's not going to be Growth, because apparently I suck at playing Growth. But it's probably going to be very good. I'm probably going to be tempted to go with Energy. I want to go with Order, but I don't know. Okay, I mean, I'm confused and alone. I'm a Decay player mainly, but then I want to like rock Energy because it's cool, but then I want to go Order because I like Order, and that was my thing. But Decay's now my thing, and I don't know. Stop asking me questions.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about this patch, right? Is that I want to play all of these different things. Like, I really want to play Energy. I want to play. We were talking about like 2 different kinds of growth deck. One focused on beasts, one that's not. Both of those seem interesting to me. I think I'll probably go towards growth first, just because that's what I'm more familiar with. But I don't know.
And what ones you have most of the cards already for, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But I think in the long run, all these factions are starting to look really fun.
Oh, we have a straw poll. Everyone votes. Voting
Ooh.
Energy.
Yeah, I'm
Actually,
gonna
I'm
go
going to
with
vote Decay
Energy
because
as
I'm going to
well.
vote Decay. aren't
I will play a little bit of Decay because, yeah, like Blinky, I'm most familiar with Decay. I just don't think they look the strongest post-patch, but I'm still gonna try them out and see how I go. You know. What about you?
Okay.
Cantor?
I plan to put together the ranged energy deck and see how that does on the ladder. As my first choice. They seem quite
Trying to
strong
stick
on
Crimson
the.
Blue.
No, I don't think so. I think Crimson Bull Splash is kind of dead. It's at 3 cost. But yeah, I'm gonna try to put together the ranged energy deck and play that first. It looks very strong on the test server right now, and it's new, so.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah,
tempting.
It uses the most new cards, I think, as well. That deck in particular. I mean, out of the new kind of basic constructed decks, I think most energy players will be using the most new cards, if that makes sense.
Since you guys are might be sticking with decay. On the opposite side of the spectrum from energy, where energy is the resource that is most likely to be playing a lot of new cards, decay seems to be the one that's going to be playing the least. Which do you think are the key new cards to add to a decay deck? Either Dialex first, I suppose.
I kind of like Baneful Bitch. I really like the Malevolent Gaze as well. That's probably one of the strongest new decay cards. And that's probably about it. Just those two. Are the only scrolls I'm going to be putting in there. The newer Road's really good as well, I'm going to say. I know it's not a decay card, but it's really good for kind of, taking out totems and things like that. A good way to deal with structures.
Put in Nuru.
Nuru? No. I'm anti-Nuru.
What? But I'll get out. I mean...
What's your opinion, Blinky?
I like Nuru, she's going in.
Anything else?
The Witch is going in as well, and that's it.
I mean, there's when you look at her, she only does 6 damage every 2 turns. But the thing is, you get to distribute the 3 damage to 2 lanes, plus she procs your Harvester or Rottier. 10. Oh yeah, that's right. If you have an idle
she buffs
down.
everything else as well.
I think it's also important to keep in mind that she doesn't need to endanger herself and go fight those people that she's attacking. She just can stand on the other side of the map and sort of like a...
You mean avoid Spiky and things like that? So.
Spiky is such a problem, right?
Well, not because of Spiky, but because of walking towards a Great Wolf, for instance. She doesn't need to.
I see.
She can stay away from it. Sort of like a marksman, for instance. But
Yeah, you can just kind of keep her somewhere where she's protected. I think that's cool. Also, the stuff dying, like the husks that die at the end of the turn, doesn't that trigger all your death effects and things, like set up harvesters?
Yeah. Harvesters and Rod Eaters and stuff.
yeah, it can trigger your harvesters and your rod eaters and all of that. Although I feel that that's less important at the stage of the game when you have Nuru going, because at that point you're just trying to finish the game as soon as possible. But it would depend on your strategy, of course.
So how do you see her kind of fitting into that late game stage? Because I feel like past a certain point you're just trying to line up a Necro to win. So does she just help get you to that point? Is it? I don't know. I guess
She's just a strong creature, and she's cool.
Okay. So
I think she was stronger when she summoned 3 husks, but I think she's a bit fairer now.
yeah, I still think she's quite strong. I've had a few games where I was able to keep her alive, and she attacked 2 or 3 times.
She's very powerful,
It's
but I think 2/5 is a bit only slightly weaker than 3/4/4.
Hmm.
She's still summoning 2 Kinfolk veterans, suicidal Kinfolk veterans every other turn. So
That's one way of looking at it.
that's how I look at it.
So those are the decks that you're going to be running. Didn't get a straight answer out of all of you, but in your new decks that you're planning on running, which cards do you think will be the most important in terms of what are the cards in the new meta in those decks that you're playing that you feel like you would only sack when you absolutely need to, and you're often hoping to top deck those cards? What cards do you think really stand out as being game changers? Sure, go ahead, Blinky, if you have a thought there.
For decay, I would say it's probably the Witch, because you're going to want to combo that with Tent. Energy, what's it called? That eruption thing. Sudden eruption, that's going to be a card which is going to be quite powerful sometimes. It's tough because that's not usually how the game gets played. You don't usually keep cards or anything. Power Trip is maybe one.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything in order. Growth early on, you'd want a new Vader, obviously. Maybe late
Obviously,
game,
yes.
Jarl can change things around with his inspiring ability. So there's a few things there.
Okay. Clever, do you have any thoughts there
Yeah.
for the new growth deck that you'll put together?
I'm actually really excited about Jarl Earlhald. I'm actually, I think, one of the few growth players in the top 30 or 40 or whatever that's running Kinfolk Jarl, or at least I'm one of the few I've seen. And a lot of the time that winds up just being like a tanky dude who you can use as a quasi Crimson Bull, just to get a little extra damage and then have somebody on the field who's a threat for the following turns. And I think that Jarl Earlhald. I always want to put a second L in there. The point is that he's going to be even better at doing what I'm currently using the Jarl to do, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I think he's got the most health of any unit as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
might.
Something else got some. Yeah. Pretty strong.
Clever, you're one of the few players who don't run Sister of the Fox as well, right? So did you see her fitting in the new?
Yeah, Sister of the Fox, cutting that was something I decided after talking with Cantor about it for a while. And I kind of like Sister of the Fox. I kind of like the Kinfolk Ranger over that because I think that getting something on the board turn 2 a lot of the time can be a big important factor for growth, and the evidence of that is the difference between the strength of a start with a Kinfolk Brave and one with when you don't get that. And I think any growth player or anybody who's played growth has really felt that. Like the games where you get the Brave out are just that's a strong start in a lot of cases, and it kind of forces you to like answer it. And the Kinfolk Ranger doesn't have anywhere near that presence, but it at least gives you some kind of a foothold. I don't know. I think, and then the argument that Cantor made, which I think has a lot of merit, is that cantrip cards like that aren't as useful once you start having cards you actually want to play. So like Eye of Eagle used to be a card that was in every growth deck at the beginning of beta, or at least almost every growth deck, and that's no longer the case at all. Nobody runs it because there's other cards that are more reliable and better.
Yeah.
I've replaced her with Vengeful Beta in my new growth deck. So,
yeah, I totally support that. I think Kinfolk Ranger goes right out the door for that card. I'm very excited about that card. I haven't actually played with any of them, so I'm not sure how exactly.
I hope it dies a horrible death.
There's also the Outcast. So.
Do you think it's worth putting in an Eye of Eagle just to try and increase your chances of drawing the Vader early on in the game?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a lot of situations in which I don't know. I'm just not huge on Eye of Eagle.
Okay. Keep in mind, you can also say there don't need to be cards from Rebellion. Any cards that you think are going to just play a big role in your decks, and you'll always be trying to hold on to them when you can. Are good choices to mention as well. Dialex, do you have any thoughts that way about your deck, about what cards you think will really stand out as being important to your strategy? Will you still be running Necrogeddon, for instance, or will you be going
no,
a different approach?
My new Decay deck's actually looking pretty weird. It's got like it relies a lot on the Puppet Soldier, Road, some Witch, some Bloodline Taints, things like that. So yeah, I think a Road's going to have a big role to play back in the since it's buff, and also since there's so many new ways to proc it as Decay. Sorry, the Puppet.
Okay. So using the Malevolent Gaze is what you've got in mind?
Yeah,
or?
the Gaze, and also Neura's Needle. Yeah, it's probably the two ways you could also proc it. Maybe the Bloodline Taint even, if you want to be expensive about it.
Okay.
Actually, one of the kind of to go to the, because you're asking which cards are going to be essential. I think one of the most interesting changes here is that there's the possibility of a Great Wolf-less growth deck, so a growth deck that does not run Great Wolf, and that's a pretty big change, right? Like It's
Yeah,
not. That's the first time that's been at all viable.
So just using
Yeah.
the Fang there instead, is that?
I think the way Blinky was laying it out.
Well, should we
Yeah, I
move on
have
to
a
those
ver-
decks
I
now?
have a
Maybe we
version
can get
of-
onto that
yeah,
subject.
let's
So
maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, sure.
Probably a good segue.
we can talk about that.
Yeah, I have a version that's using the bear instead of the wolf as well. That's an idea. For energy, it's the ones that really stand out to me are Power Trip and Bombard. Like when you have that Bombard, sometimes if you need to fit your curve, you might sack it, but you really don't want to. You want to save
I
that
sack
for some
Bombard all
reason
the
to
time.
make it play. But, that's how I look at it anyway. So I think we've already talked about the new judgment changes. A note in here about if you think judgment will become more popular. I think, so that's a resounding yes from everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone disagree? All right. Okay. That was quick. Is there any cards that you guys feel will vary? So we're going into, to preface a little bit, with the new patch, we're sort of going into a fresh new meta, right? There's going to be lots of things that people are trying out. We're not going to be quite sure what's right. So there should be some shifts in popularity of various decks for the next month or so. So are there any cards in particular that you think will vary in power and vary in how often people would like to include it in their deck, depending on what is popular on the ladder at the time? For example, like Bloodline Taint is incredibly strong against Order. It's very good against other decks, but not quite as strong, so that might vary. Or the Gallant Defender is very strong against Growth, I believe, but not necessarily as strong against some other, like against Energy, for instance. Is there any thoughts on that? Any cards that come to mind? So to Blinky first?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Not really.
All right. Dialex?
I guess there are some scrolls that are harder to remove, like those 2-hit point cards that kind of give you a big advantage early game, like Hide Smuggler and the Vengeful Vader. Like obviously against Energy, you can just spark it or Soul Steal it as Decay. But against Order and Growth, it might be a little bit more tricky to deal with in the early game at least. And it might give you a bit of advantage as Growth or Energy, getting those out early.
You're referring to the Hired Smuggler and the Vengeful Vader.
Yes. And the Echo Maiden actually is really good against Order, but less good against Growth.
That's a very good point. Yeah. It's less good against, like, say, Energy, who can burn it. But quite good if you can defend it.
Mm-hmm.
Clever, do you have any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I have no idea how the metagame's gonna settle. I think there's gonna be... I don't know. I feel like the test server games that have been played out so far have been very good at determining the test server meta, but whether or not that's going to actually apply to the real ladder is an open question, I think. So I'm really interested to see what ends up happening, what people figure out is strong once there's a lot more people trying it all out.
Okay. Another one along the lines of, he was saying those 2 health, 2 drops, that get weaker if people are running Spark or if you're running into a lot of decay with Soul Steal. Another one like that is the new Corpus Collector. Say 4-drop in decay. So it's fairly weak against Energy since they have burn, and like getting your 4-drop burned, it feels horrible. But maybe against some other factions, it'll be pretty good. So now we have we've used most of the time, but we have some for people that want to get a head start on preparing their deck plans for the upcoming patch. We have 4 decks that NRP and Blinky have built. that we can put up on the stream there to discuss. So Blinky,
Yes,
tell us
Cantor.
tell us about these decks, or one that you'd like to discuss first, perhaps.
Well, you pick one first, and then cause I can't see the stream at the moment, so I don't know what's the pictures of.
All right, let's start with the order deck that you guys put together.
Order deck. That was fun. Right. Just link it in chat as well. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So we kind of started with like the similar sort of build in the minds of how the decks are built now. So like 3/3 drops, 3/4 drops sort of thing. This order build, I'm not very good at explaining things. Well, for start off, we wanted 5 displacement scrolls, and we split between either 3 flip or 3 pother, and 2 just went with 2 flip, 2 pother, and a reversal just to be awkward. And
Okay.
it sort of offers you something different. I mean, we're just really trying to fit things in. I mean, we wanted 3/3 drops, but there wasn't enough space, so we just went with 2 Royal Spearmen. In new cards, we've added in 2 Wings Warder, because I think 3 is a little too much. We don't want to draw them all the time, because they don't attack and do anything too much. But they're useful like against some decks. And then K and Cleaver. We couldn't decide which to go with 2 of. I mean, K is good, draws you lots of cards, and Cleaver's good because it's a huge relentless creature, so we just went with 1 of each. Basically.
All right.
Might be best if NRP comes on and helps us explain this, because I'm bad.
That would be
Yeah,
great,
this deck
too.
is awkward. It's got so many. It's
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Dialex?
a single weak clip. Sorry?
Genius, I tell you.
What are your thoughts, Dialex? What would you change? What stands out to you?
I'm not saying I change. I don't know anything about order, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to throw that stone. Yeah, just a single wings cleaver and single reversal is a bit strange. Yeah, what were your thoughts for the single reversal and single wings cleaver? I can probably understand the wings cleaver because it's so strong when you actually get Dominion. So it gets a bonus
Well,
attack.
I would probably go with 2K, but we just couldn't decide between us. So we just went with it. And as I said, I want 5 movement scores is usually a good amount. So.
What do you think of the wings rammer, by the way?
What, the 5/2/4?
Yeah, the 5/2/4.
I think it's just a bit too weak.
Mhm.
If it's a
Actually-
5/2/5, then it would go in, but I think
Yeah.
the full health is a bit too weak for 5 drop.
Okay. In the interest of time, let's just take a quick look at all of the decks and link them all in chat so that
We've
people.
still got plenty of time. We've still got about 10 minutes or so.
Do we?
Yeah, we started 8
Right.
minutes late. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking we would want to be stopping at the hour. But yeah,
Yeah,
so let's talk about this order deck then. A bit
Yeah, I
more.
know
NLPs
the
in-
overlord. Sorry.
So I was just saying NLP's here, so you can
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
ask him a question.
NRP helped build these decks, so please give us your thoughts.
All right, so this the order deck. Basically everything, like you said, looks a little awkward because there's all these like cards like with the only one of like reversal, wings cleaver, and K. But there's just so many scrolls that we really wanted to fit in. Yeah, I see how we could have like made a lot of changes, like maybe take out the reversal and give it to Pother or Flip, or take out the cleaver or K and switch to the other one. But I think there's going to be a lot of variations to these kinds of decks, but this is just what we were able to come up with in like 20 minutes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be a definitive end.
Yeah, no, these
Well, no,
decks are
it's
definitely
perfect.
not.
Yeah.
These decks are definitely not like exactly what people need to be running, but as an example for people to prepare of what to look for.
I do
think
think
Wings
it's
Warder-
arguable that like in the late game, maybe it makes more sense to be one card deep in certain situational cards in order, because in the late game you're going through so many cards with all the Imperial resources and the Pothers and Kabonks, etc. I don't know. Maybe that's my attempt to justify on behalf of my friends here.
No, 1 and 2 ofs are completely justifiable, but
Well, with reversal, we couldn't decide between 3 flip or 3 podder, and so reversal kind of does a bit of both. It draws you a card and it moves things if stuff is stuck. And also you can use it on your own units as well, so I don't know how that would help all too much, but you never know. It could be a situation where it could be cool.
yeah, you could accidentally put your spearman at the back because, you know, if people do
It'll
that
give you
sometimes.
extra movement. So there you go.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I suppose it could give you extra movement too.
In a way, sort of extra sideways.
Yeah,
It's just different. So
Do you draw a card with reversal?
yes.
you do.
Yes.
Otherwise, it would not be in.
Yeah.
Something I notice is that there's 3 Imperial resources, which
Yeah.
seems completely. I've been finding that for those economy scrolls, it's often nice to just have 2 of them because you don't often. You need to find a lull in the action before you can cast one without getting run over, and for that reason, you don't want to be drawing them all that often. I found, but
I found
do you agree
when
with that at all, or
playing,
is that just me?
Order versus Order, that Imperial resources, like, just because the decks are pretty slow, if your opponent has 3 of them and you have 2 of them, it makes a big difference. You know.
Oh yeah, in order versus
always
order,
right for you.
can't disagree.
And as we
Against
all know,
growth, maybe not.
as we all know, the meta is the top of the ladder is packed with those order players. You can't find a game without an order player.
Well, it might be after the patch. Who knows?
Never know.
Apparently,
I
it came
think
up very
it
high on the
is,
Struggle.
I don't think Order's that bad, but it's just a shame no one plays them. I think they're probably one of the harder people to play at the moment, definitely. So.
Yeah, I don't think they're that bad at all. So yeah, there's an example of what you could look for in an order deck. Let's get the energy one up next, since this is the order that I have them.
All right.
Have them in.
Energy's up.
All right. So things that stand out here, we've got destroyers. We've got Top Reaver Thea, Sudden Eruption, Hired Marksman, Power Trip, of course, Great Elders. So this is a ranged bombard-based deck that a lot of people will be running something similar to. Go ahead, Blinky or Nerf, on this deck construction. How you ended up with this?
Well,
with difficulty.
all right. Well, so we just went through the creatures and we put in the range creatures that we'd want on the deck. It has a nice curve, like we put in 2/2 drops, 3/3 drops, and some of the choices were tough. Like since energy has so many 3 drops, it was tough to just choose Canada and Stormrunner because there's also stuff like Scattergunner and
Replicaton and things.
yeah, Replicaton, Boom Reaver, all that stuff. But we wanted to have a nice curve going up, and this power trip is really awesome because it would help get up to Thea earlier on. And we split Thunder Surge and Sudden Eruption up, so we have 2 Sudden Eruptions and 1 Thunder Surge because Sudden Eruption you can't really play around, so I think that's better in that way. But then 1 Thunder Surge, just in case the player is not really moving their units apart, you can surprise them with that. And the Destroyer is a little interesting. You can keep drawing with the Hired Smuggler, and Destroyer and Iron Whip works like a Mangonel at 3 attack. And if you just put it down without an Iron Whip, it's some nice steady board control. So yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, pretty much covers it.
great. Clever Dialex, do you have any comments here about maybe Dialex, you've built some energy decks on the test server. How does this differ from the ones that you have?
It's pretty similar. I preferred the Ash Runner over the Gun Automaton. I really like Ash Runner because it's just a super cheap way of doing crazy amounts of damage. You can play the Ash Runner, play Bombard, play Machinated, and you've got a whole line of units to kill. I also put Vicious Strike in there. It works on destroyers, so it's a good way to, if you get languided your destroyers, then you can kind of buff them up that way as well. I didn't really like, I used Hard Marksman a little bit, but I didn't find it tanky enough. I remember Blinky saying, oh, he thought it should have full health. And I was like, what? But then I started playing it, and I kind of agree. I think it should be a little bit more tanky. I just found it was dying too early, especially with the 3 cooldown. But I guess with Bombard, you can still proc it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
There was a choice between Elder and Ironclad Reaver, but because Elder's ranged and Ironclad Reaver, it's strong in its body, but to use its pillage effect, it's a bit awkward because you want to be attacking creatures mainly, and you want the creatures behind you attacking creatures, and this is going to be at the front protecting them.
Well, you could have the.
Well, if it's going to hit an idol, then your creatures that are attacking the creatures are going to be unprotected mainly, so you don't really get the advantage of it.
Yeah, I found with Ironclad Reaver, it's a bit awkward that it won't be affected by your Bombard, but that even though
if it said if it kills a creature, then it would be very good because it was still be on the same line.
Yeah, I found that while it at first it seemed really awkward to use the pillage effect and like decide what you wanted to do with it. There were a lot of times where there's a bit of a standoff, and being able to every time that unit's ready to attack, just move it into harm's way and not worry about it was pretty nice upside. Other things, Sudden Eruption at first I thought was a pretty mediocre but good card, but after playing it more, I think it's very good. I would consider including 3 of for people out there. But yeah, no, this is a good deck to try out. Do you have any thoughts, Clever?
I think the being able to threaten both Thunder Surge and Sudden Eruption is just the most maniacal, diabolic thing. That's so, like, as growth, you're trying to figure out whether to play your Rat King to like make
growth.
Sudden Eruption less effective, or
the
horror growth's gonna have a hard
my
time
heart
in
bleeds for you.
Tiny situation. But the
I
point
don't
is,
know whether to summon 3 cut creatures for 1 card. I just don't know. It's a tough decision. Do I play them? I don't know.
It's gonna be hard, you know. Any faction is gonna have trouble with figuring out whether to put more stuff on the board to decrease the chance of all their important things dying, or to like play around Thunder Surges is traditionally the case. And I think that makes both of those cards stronger than if only one existed.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I like 3 Eruptions and 2 Surges, which can be a bit too much high-end removal, but it's nice to have. I'll probably be running only 2 Cannon Automatons because I think they're not great for their price, but it's nice to have something on that 6-drop slot. But yeah, neat deck. Then we have this growth deck. If we can pull that up. So this is, how many creatures are in this deck? That's the thing to
32.
wonder. 32. All right, that's a lot of creatures. So we got all the wolves. We got Fangbear. We've got a full complement of all like Quakes, Fertile Soils, God Hands, Rallying. But curiously absent is our famous Crimson Bull. Yeah, tell us about this.
You could have this one then, LP.
Alright, well, about the Crimson Bull. Crimson Bull is, well, the nerf it to 3 makes it not as super strong. Culling the Flock kind of does its job now in this deck because it's a beast deck. You'll probably be able to just Culling the Flock like a rat or something, and then you'll be able to get some extra damage that what the Crimson Bull would do. There's noticeably no Ancestral Totems also, but hopefully Calling the Flock will do enough extra damage for that. Crimson Bowl and Calling the Flock do work well together, though, so I could see some people using both in the deck, because you can Crimson Bowl and then Calling the Flock and get some massive damage. And for the rest of the deck, it's pretty easy to understand. It's just a beast deck. No Brothers of the Wolves, no Earthborn Mystic, but I think there will be multiple kinds of growth decks that will be viable at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, back to Crimson Ball, I think the Jarl can do that job as well, so I think they're safe there. I mean, it's
that's a very good point.
with these two Vatas, it's going to be very easy to ramp up, so being able to play Jarl and Cunning Flock in the same turn is not out of the question. So it'll be a lot more expensive, but you get a big creature as well.
It's interesting though, because like one of the things that makes Ragged Wolf so strong is that you can combo it with Crimson Bull in the mid game for a lot of really big plays. And I'm wondering whether Ragged Wolf's, this is just coming to me now, like I wonder if Ragged Wolf is anywhere near as good without that ability. And even like the Calling the Flock on a beast strat for 1 damage, I think it's going to be hard to find. Like Mangy Wolf is a good target, but I wonder what else is a good target for that. Like you don't really want to be getting rid of your.
Getting a bear is worth it, but it's situational.
Yeah.
That's why I think dropping Ancestral Totem was tough, because it buffed the rats to really better buff.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point.
With more people playing Erode as well, it makes Ancestral Totem a lot worse.
That's true.
Well, that's if we're assuming people aren't going to play it. Which I don't
Wetland Ranger isn't also an option for that sort of function. I don't know if there's. It's hard to find room for it in decks.
You can't
I
call
found
him
when I was building them. But yeah, you can't call him. But if you can make your rats have 2 attack, and you can call those, it might be useful to some people. Okay, I like the inclusion of Urhald. Urhald is a great champion. Getting that Crimson Bull effect, in addition to an incredibly strong creature.
Is there going to be any deck that doesn't run him? Like maybe an aggro early game oriented deck? Or is he just always going to be in there? Because I feel like he kind of is.
Does anyone have a comment on that? Dialex?
I don't have him in my deck, but I also don't have Naru. I don't have any champions. Actually, I use Thea, but that's about it.
You're mental, you are. So.
Yeah, I know. I don't actually have a proper order deck, otherwise I'd have the champion in there. I have a tempo order I've been using, but it's fun to play, but probably not viable other than against another mono order.
Yeah, I have a few different types of growth decks that I'd been experimenting with. It's like more of a late game growth deck, Jarls and the eventual Vaders and all of that, and then some more aggressive order decks that use the Vader of the Wild instead to get those like turn 2 break that. But most of mine use the Earthborn Mystic and Staghearts as like an extra 3-drop and sort of an alternate win condition almost. Like you can win really fast if you happen to Stagheart Brave with like your Earthborn Mystics, but then you can also maybe go late and play your Quakes and your Jarls and that sort of thing.
I honestly think the Mystic is kind of a must play for any growth deck really now, because it's just like the Night Scholar of growth decks, you know.
Yeah, seems good.
We did have a version, but you take out Beast and you have Earthborn Mystic and whatever that new growth spot. What's it called? Underground. That was in, but we wanted the Beasts because they're big.
Yeah, this is a good Beast version. Having those relentless threats from both Fangbear and Great Wolf is certainly a powerful choice.
I don't think Cunning Flock heals Beasts as well, so there you
go. Okay. Moving on to the Decay deck. We'll wrap this up fairly quickly. We have so this Decay deck that should be going up on screen shortly. We have new cards here are Nuru and Baleful Witch. And that's about all. things that are different from most of the standard growth, or most of the standard decay decks are the Ilmeyer aren't always included, but they seem to be of the pick in this one. Bloodline Taint is being played a fair bit recently, but again isn't in every decay deck. So you didn't feel like there were any other decay cards that make the cut, or any other new Rebellion cards that make the cut?
No.
Oh.
Not in this version. There's probably gonna be like a weird controlled decay version out there somewhere, which has got Light Seed and like Malevolent Gaze and all sorts of weird things and News Needle. But I think that's going to take a long time to get together. And this is pretty solid. It's just an adaptation of the current deck. The new cards. I mean, we Ripper for Nuru, I think it was, and then added in Bewitch for Blightbearer, and Taint is in for something else. I think it was Life Stealer.
For which? Taint is in for which?
Oh yeah,
combos, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think a road has a place in this deck?
No.
No. But
there's no space.
If some people would want to run that.
They won't.
Okay. If Ancestral Totems are giving them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think that would be in that sort of weird control-y version more.
Okay.
Just get more curse in there or something to use on structures as well. Be good against energy.
Okay.
I don't think we can always change anything because
thoughts on. Yeah. Decay's been a very solid deck for quite some time with very little changes. There's no Watchers in this version as well, which is fairly common for people to have been cutting Watchers lately, but a lot of people still run them, so that's worth noting. Any comments, Dialex or Clever? Things that stand out to you here?
I'm kind of sad that there's not more that's being changed about Decay. I don't know. That's just,
Yeah.
I guess it's not like the deck's still fine. They're still strong, I think, but could have been more interesting.
Okay. Yeah, Dialex. Sorry to address you both.
Pretty standard Decay. Yeah. Yeah, I have tried all the new Decay scrolls, and yeah, just the ones they have at the moment are a lot stronger. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what's happening. It's not that the new cards are like necessarily terrible. It's just that the current Decay staples are so goddamn reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Blightseed, although it is a bit risky sometimes. But I like it on an Oblivion Seeker or a Tribesman, for instance. I like Boghound. I think it's good if you need extra 2-drops to fill in your curve, if you want to ensure that you have a good board presence early on.
Yeah, I want to get them in, but if it was a human, it would be in, definitely, but it's not,
yeah.
So can't.
That makes a big difference, for sure. That's another upside for Baleful Witch. At least you get your Ripper body.
They should just change the name to like human dressed as a Boghound, and then like make the type different.
I still think Boghounds should be wolves, so that somebody out there can make a horrible
That would be cool,
wolf
actually.
deck that has mangy wolves accelerating Boghounds, but not because it clearly wouldn't affect the meta in any significant way, but it would be fun. So I would like that change to be put
Would
in.
affect Judgment.
Yeah, it might affect Judgment, but those are some example decks for people when the patch hits live that you can try out.
I just got a fantastic idea. What if in that beast deck you ran a road and then Rot Eaters, and you calling the flock to your Rot Eaters after they'd gotten up to like 7/7?
Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea, is it?
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Right.
I'm just imagining like a swarm of beast rats with 12 attacks.
You can also do Beast Rat with that thing that turns them all into monsters. It's a horrible idea. But
Monstrous Brood?
Yeah, Monstrous Brood on your Beast Rats.
What if you calling twice in a row, you get it like stacks, right? So
Yes, it does.
wouldn't that be kind of sick hypothetically in certain situations?
You need to have some
Do like
relentless
2 Great
Beast
Wolves
Rats
in a
worth
row, and
doing.
everything else has.
If you do get a 2-color deck running, Boghound is Boghound, when it has its 4 attack, is a very efficient thing to use Culling the Flock on, but getting to that point where you have a lot of 2 different resources is not really reliable. Anyway, we're getting distracted. Let's shoutouts and community events in the coming week. We have some tournaments coming up. There's the weekly ESL on Sunday. There is, which I believe is the last ESL of the Winter Cup. There is Folksy Cup, which is going to be on Saturday, tomorrow. And that is a casual tournament which is using the middling mode format, which asks you not to play any scrolls of over 4 resource cost. It has an entry fee of 500 gold, I believe, to fund prizes. And there is also the Crazy Casual Cup coming up on Wednesday, which is using the peasant format this month, and that is defined as a deck which has only 1 playset of rare cards, 3 playsets of uncommon cards, and the rest of your deck is filled in with commons. So those are some events and tournaments to look out for. Blinky, do you have any things you'd like to plug, your YouTube or your Twitch or anything along those lines? And then I'll add a few more as well. No?
I'll stream tomorrow with Orangey and Spiffy Duo, I think. That's 7 PM GMT. So look out for that. Pretty much it.
Okay. Dialex, do you have any shoutouts? Shoutouts or plugs?
Nothing to plug.
All right.
Nice.
Right then. And Clever?
I'll be streaming some, not probably tonight, but this weekend and other times in the future. Probably after the Owl stream.
And where can they find that?
I'll be the Owl stream after show. So that's twitch.tv/clever_US. And I also have a Twitter which you can follow, which is linked on that stream page. So I'll go into that, but
right on. Also, guys, this stream that you're currently watching, the Badger stream, is going to be starting up a proper streaming schedule next week after Rebellion. So watch out for that. There's going to be a lot of good content coming. And the Badger Guild has also recently established a YouTube channel. So with contributors from the guild, and I believe this podcast will be on that channel. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
It'll be on this and half this bit, and then it's all being swapped over.
Okay. So it'll be on the Badger Guild channel as well as the Harder Scrolls channel. So whole stream, and other than that, there's just my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/trustyfish. All one word. Oh, and NRP's channel, and so he has both YouTube and Twitch channels, which is under the name NRP the Ninja, all one word. So thanks for tuning in, guys. This is
Stay tuned, right?
yeah. Well,
for the people in the
perhaps stay tuned for
stream.
a bit of after show on the stream. But thank you for watching the podcast. Hope everyone is as excited for Rebellion as we are.
peace out, homies.
Goodbye.
All right. Well, I guess we're still streaming because we wanted to do the just invite other people in the Badger Guild.
Well,
Yeah,
if people want to, as long as we just cut the recording for YouTube and
Yeah, I'll stop